I like to use these tools, these wooden modeling tools with the curved ends on them. And I just all the way down. Okay, now the very bottom seam where I've attached the base, I'm going to do something more there because I want this at the bottom to be, instead of going straight down and straight across the bottom, I want it to be curved at the bottom, which will make it easier to clean. It'll make sure that the glaze covers everything and there aren't any cracks or anything later. So I'm going to make a coil for this. And for coils, you always want to use fresh clay, okay, for coils. Here are the tricks for rolling coils. Put this in your subnotes here. You want to have clean tabletop because your coil will pick up everything that's on the table when you roll it. Kind of squeeze the coil into a roll shape first. This coil, this is not fresh clay, so this won't be as good, but I'm going to use both hands. Well, you can use one hand, but I want to use light pressure. I want to press all the way from the end of my fingertips to the bottom of my hand, so it's a longer motion. Light pressure, longer motion, and then I have to apply a sideways torque at the same time. Okay, so when I'm rolling back and forth, my hands are also slightly pulling apart like that. Okay, because you'll learn this when you try to roll coils. If you don't do that, your coil will go flat. If you can reach in, you just reach in and kind of press it into that corner all the way around. Coil down there in the bottom. I want to push that coil into that corner, into the seam, all the way around. If you can't reach with your hand, or if your hand's too big, use one of these tools. I just like to use the tools anyway. I'm going to blend down half of this coil into the bottom of the mug. I'm going to blend the other half up into the sides of the mug all the way around. So watch what my hand is doing opposite where I'm blending. What is my hand doing? I'm supporting it on the other side to make sure it keeps its shape so I don't push it out with the tool. And I do this all the way around. You can see the inside. Can't see where the coil is at. Now look at the rim of this. This is bad, really bad. So one of the things when you cut the clay, when you cut that slab, is you created like a right angle at the top, so it comes up and it's flat. And that creates these sharp edges that when you fire these, they will be sharp. So you want that to be very rounded. So I'm going to just use, well, you can smooth it in many ways. I'm just going to use my fingers and smooth this out. Spend time to make sure this is really smooth and rounded, so not square at the edge at all. That's going to be important. So this is your basic body of the mug. Done. Well, there's still a lot of smoothing to do on this, but the basic construction of it is done. Okay? So the first kind of handle I'm going to show you is a coil handle. So write that down. I'm going to take this, and instead of squeezing it into a straight roll shape, I'm going to make it like a carrot. So what's distinctive about the shape of a carrot? Fatter at one end and thinner at the other end, right? So I'm going to kind of squeeze this into this carrot shape. So my handle naturally will be a little thicker at one end. Okay, so I've got my carrot of coil here. And then when I roll this, rolling it is basically going to smooth it out, and it's going to make it a little thinner, but I want to hold my hands like at an angle a little bit. Okay, so I'm keeping that thicker to thinner shape. And again, I add that kind of sideways torque a little bit. Helps keep the ends going a little bit flat. So I want to roll this, and I'm not going to use this whole piece. Everyone's always like, whoa, that's a huge handle. I'm going to trim it down, but I want to get it to the right thickness for my mug. So see how it's getting nice and smooth now? So I'm going to look at my mug and kind of give this a curve, and then see if I used the end of it, is that the right thickness, or would I use more like this part of it? And you can decide. You could flatten it slightly, if you wanted. So I could take my coil and kind of tap it on the table and turn it over and tap it. Okay, and then I decide where I want that to go. I'm going to trim this. So I'll cut off that big end. I don't need that. I don't need all of that at the bottom either. You could if you wanted to. I know we looked at some examples that had like that kind of a thing going on. You could, or you could just cut it off and decide if I want this to bend up a little more, that rather than going straight out, I cut this like that, right? You always want to flatten your handle just a little bit so it's kind of straighter right at the outside curve. Okay, so that's a coil handle. And see how, okay, I'm going to make this slab really, really thick. So like, I would say up to 1 inch thick. I'm going to smooth this out. You could smooth it out with a rolling pin. I have rolling pins on the wedging table. I'm going to smooth this out by this technique called throwing a slab. So I've got this nice thick, really thick slab, okay? Then I'm going to take my design for my handle, which I'm going to do. The slab handles would be for any shape that is not a curve. Okay, so curved shapes, you just use a coil method. That's easiest. For any other kind of shape, don't poke yourself with needles. Use the slab. Okay, so say I want to do something where it's like, this is the edge of the mug. I'm going to draw this first, and it comes up like that. This is going to be one of those single finger handles. Okay, so this is the shape I'm going for. That's the edge of the mug. So I draw it on here. It's going to be a circle on the inside. Okay. Then I'm going to use an X-Acto knife. So you'll borrow for these. I'm going to cut really carefully. These are great for cutting because needle tools, when you cut, because they're rounded, will always push the clay away and leave these little the boogers on the side. One thing I don't want you to do, I didn't say this about your coil handle, but I should tell you, is don't just ever roll out a flat, straight coil and attach it on. It is probably the worst looking handle ever. So you always want to make sure it's got the tapered edge to it, or tapered shape to it. Okay, so this has really sharp edges. I'd want to kind of smooth those out, you know, and I'm careful handling this because I don't want to change the shape too much. But that basically will fit on the mug like that, right? So when you attach the handle, I'm speeding through here right now because we're almost finished. Did you get this all written down? What's your last step you wrote? Check your notes. Smooth edges after you cut the entire slab out, handle out. Okay, when you score and slip the handle on, obviously, you would have done that with the coil one too. Add pressure without smushing the shape of the handle. And then there's something I want to show you that you can do to reinforce this join here with this handle. And that is to roll out a little coil okay, so we're doing a little skinny coil that's going to go all the way around here. So I'm going to take this and smooth part of the coil. You know, of course, I really press that into that corner. Smooth part of the coil into the handle and part into the mug. And that will reinforce the join. Press it into the corner really well. And then you can finish blending it.